Thank you.
You'll be glad I edit that out in post.
We haven't started yet.
No, but I started the broadcast.
Okay.
That was literally the first thing the microphone heard. If anyone was watching, that was the first thing they heard. Was you burping.
Okay.
All right. Counting down. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? I'm Pat.
I'm Sean.
This is another great week of the Marvel Unlimited. Nope, this is not the Marvel Unlimited podcast. Waiting on you to count it down again.
Silencing the phone.
Doing it right now. Clinton on not disclosing pneumonia diagnosis on Friday. She didn't think it was a big deal. Really? Seriously?
Do you tell people every time you're sick?
I'm not running for president.
Okay. You think Donald Trump tells them?
And I don't have people accusing me of being in poor health.
Yeah, she's not in poor health.
And actually, I do tell my boss every time I'm sick. And the company knows every time I'm sick.
Sure, but you know what I mean.
And I'm not a public figure.
You think Barack Obama's been in the White House 8 years and never gotten the case of the sniffles? Come on now.
You think the media doesn't know it every time he's gotten the case of the sniffles?
I haven't.
Yeah, press corps doesn't know it every time he's gotten the case of the sniffles?
Yeah, but they don't write, they don't spend 3 news cycles talking about it.
Which is why she didn't tell anybody.
Okay. I don't care if she discloses it or not.
That's a problem with the Clintons, man. It's BS. I mean, just come out and say I got pneumonia. Or just say I didn't realize it was pneumonia. I thought it was the cold.
That may be what it was till she got to the hospital.
See, that's the thing. I thought it was the cold till I got to the hospital. Say that. Don't say I didn't think it was a big deal. It's always BS with the Clintons. They just can't come out and talk. If they just come out and talk, I'd like them a whole lot more.
Yeah, you're probably right. I like him anyway. That's okay. Yeah. All my Bernie Sanders friends are, losing their minds because they think it's, they're like, oh, she had a seizure. I'm like, no, she had pneumonia.
Oh, my God. Okay, count it down before I lose my mind.
Mm-hmm. All right. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? I'm Pat.
I'm Sean.
This is another great episode of the 6 Months Behind podcast for the week of 9/5/16, September the 5th, where we will discuss all the comics for that week that came out on Marvel Unlimited. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. Can you believe it's September already?
Not really, no. No, it is another year that has racing by.
Yep. Seems to be the older we get, the faster time goes by.
Yes. Wait till you get in your 50s, and it really just flies by.
Oh, I can imagine. You're just like, oh, it's Christmas again. Oh, all right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, somebody else died. Oh, well. Okay.
Welcome to the most depressing episode of the 6 Months Behind podcast that we've ever done.
Yes. Yes, but it's better because there are great comic books this week.
If you're lying on your deathbed, at least you have good comics books to read.
Yes. You can sit there with your tablet or your phone or your laptop and read good comic books.
As long as your hospital wing has decent Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and your eyesight hasn't failed you yet, like Stan Lee's has.
We're awful. If you want to tell us what it's like to be living on hospice care and reading comic books, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
And if your eyes haven't failed you and arthritis hasn't taken over your fingers, you can go to the website at www.6sixmonthsbehind.com.
We really did start this out on a really morbid foot, didn't we?
It's all going uphill, though. It is.
It's like rolling a boulder uphill.
It's going to be great, man.
In the snow, both ways.
And as long as you don't want to know, if you want to know the endings of these comic books, we give spoilers. So if you don't want to know the endings, if you don't want to know spoilers, stop listening now. Just go away. Just go away because we give spoilers. So if you don't want to know about spoilers, just stop listening. Just this isn't for you.
Yeah, hit pause, go read the comic books, and then come back because we'll be here because you've probably downloaded this on your phone.
There you go. So it's a great week. We have Pleasant Hill comic books. We have the first Civil War tie-in comic book.
Oh, do we?
We do. We have a couple of number ones this week.
Oh, that's that Iron Man book, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. We have a couple of new books this week. We have some storylines ending. We have storylines beginning. It's a good week, man. It's good.
Yeah, overall, I felt like it was a really quality week.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, overall, through their entire lineup, I feel like Marvel is giving us a really solid slew of books here. I mean, there's titles we prefer over others, but almost everything they're putting out is high quality.
I'm looking at this list of the new books this week, trying to find a bad book, and Nova was mediocre. Is Nova on the list? I may have left Nova off the list.
That's okay. It wasn't worth a whole lot anyway.
But even it was going somewhere. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it picked up a little bit. Actually, why don't we start with, we'll start with Nova since we're talking about it and then jump into the Spider-Man books.
That's fine.
So did you actually read this? Last I talked to you, you hadn't read it. Okay.
I did. I realized when I was putting our notes together today that I had missed Nova number, 5?
I believe so.
Yes, Nova number 5. And the continuing storyline is in the first series with Sam, he has lost his father. And he went on space throughout the cosmos searching for his father. And with the relaunch of this series after Secret Wars, his father returned. The problem is it really wasn't his father. In this issue, we realize who is impersonating his father, why he's impersonating his father, and why they're after Sam. And they come and first his father comes, we find out who's impersonating him. Then there's a fight scene as they try and take over Sam, or take Sam, I should say. Specifically, they want Sam's helmet, and they want to know how Sam's helmet works, because we realize in Series 1. Right. We learned in Series 1, Sam's helmet is different than all the other Nova Corps helmets. And they want his helmet, and they want him to know how he makes that helmet work. And
right.
It was,
who is it that's after him?
The Chitauri.
Chitauri, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. And this was a pretty good book because we find out that someone's impersonating his dad, but they do a pretty good job because the guy that's impersonating his dad's like, look, I kind of really like your family, so that's why I didn't kill you and take you with me, or capture you and take you with me and kill your family, but they're going to send someone else. They're going to send other people, and I can't stop them, so you got to be ready. And, there's a few, the first half dozen pages are the teenage stuff that I'm kind of over, but once you get past that, it's a pretty good book, man.
Yeah, I saw that, and I thought of you. I thought of you knowing that you would probably not care for the teenage drama type stuff.
They're just
his mom's hustling him to get out of bed, and he's late to class, and his friends want to know where he is because he's never hanging out with them, and typical teenage drama.
I mean, in this week alone, they're doing it in Spider-Man number 2. They're doing it in this book. That's this week alone. You're doing it in Miss Marvel. They're doing it in
Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl. I mean, dude.
That's all Patsy Walker is one big millennial joke.
It's just, they're just doing it in so many books. It's half of what the Avengers title all three of these characters are in is.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets old. You know, if it was in one book, let's go back, okay? When Stan Lee was writing these books in 1963, 64, 65, 66, and you had the Avengers over here and Fantastic Four over here and Thor over there and Hulk over here, and you had Peter Parker going through these issues, and Peter Parker was the only one doing it, and he was kind of a novelty, and the rest of them were adult heroes. Okay, that was one thing. Well, and you got Moon Girl. Okay, well, let's throw Moon Girl in there. Okay, so you got like 5 or 6 comics that are telling the same story, and you're just seeing the same thing. You know, every week you're getting 2 or 3 comics that are telling the same story, and it just gets old.
You got to understand the target demographic of most of these comic books.
It ain't me.
No, it's certainly not. It's not me either. It's it's the 12 to 25 crowd.
Dude, you need to hear the Foo Fighters and John Fogerty sing "Fortunate Son." Man, that's a great version of them doing "Fortunate Son" with John Fogerty and Dave Grohl singing "It Ain't Me" at the top of their lungs. A rabbit just ran across my screen.
Yeah, where did that come from? What does that have to do with comic books?
I've listened to it several times over the last few days, and it's anyway. I can just hear Dave Grohl and John Fogerty screaming, "It ain't me" at the top of their lungs.
ADD. That's you, man. They make good medication for that.
Anyway,
Nova was all right. I didn't hate it. Moving on to Amazing Spider-Man number 9. Actually, I really enjoyed this book. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was good. It was I did enjoy it. It was Spider-Man and Nick Fury going up to try and take the SHIELD satellites back from Scorpio. Is that the name of the group?
The Zodiac.
The Zodiac, thank you. Scorpio is one of the members.
Yeah.
Of the Zodiac. Yeah, and they're blowing up the SHIELD satellites, and how much was it? $900 million.
Oh, 26 million, something like that. They're blowing up all those SHIELD satellites. Yeah, so Spider-Man and Nick Fury go to space.
Yeah.
And start blowing up SHIELD satellites because they've been hijacked by the Zodiac. And then Spider-Man has to make an interesting descent back into the atmosphere. And you don't even know what happened with Nick Fury.
They sent him to the International Space Station.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Okay. It looks like this is about to be the big showdown because some weird stuff's going on with the Zodiac. There's like a new constellation, and based on what we saw, it looks like this is going to be the big throwdown with the Spider-Man and the Zodiac coming up in the next issue. We also got some interesting information regarding what's her name?
His girlfriend,
Anna Maria.
Anna Maria, thank you.
Yeah, seems she's moved on, and apparently
she was making out with dude, wasn't she?
Yeah, and Doc Ock showed up in his robot form and was not real pleased about that.
No,
as you can imagine.
Yeah,
in the creepy Doc Ock fashion. I don't know, man. Just anybody who has that kind of reaction is just, I don't know. That strikes me as creepy.
I enjoyed this book. I did.
Yeah, the Spider-Man books have actually all been really good. Everything they're doing with the Spider-Man universe as a whole is top notch.
And at any given time, we don't know who may or may not be listening for the first time, or has not. Maybe they haven't heard us say this before. Alex Ross is brilliant, and his covers are brilliant. So,
absolutely.
Enough said.
Then we move on to Spider-Man number 2, which
is the Miles Morales.
Yeah, it's the Miles Morales Spider-Man. So it looks like the Amazing Spider-Man is the Peter Parker book.
And by the way,
Then
we
you
have
got
Miles Morales. We have Miles Morales failing college, and we have his grandmother there to rebuke him because he's failing college, and his dad's mad at him, and his mom's mad at him. Oh, wait, I've already told that story. It was in Nova. Okay, all right, let's continue. Go ahead.
yeah. So you got Amazing Spider-Man is the Peter Parker book. Spider-Man is the Miles Morales book, and then Spider-Man 2099 as the 2099 book, which is all the, you got a bunch of different Spider-Mans running around at this point. But in this issue, we see him, he basically rolls up on the Avengers, duking it out with some demon or whatever, and then Darkheart, whatever. Blackheart, I'm looking at the page.
Thank you, Blackheart. Okay, Blackheart, Darkheart, whatever.
And he's knocked out all the Avengers, so Spider-Man steps in, decides to help him out. Then Peter Parker shows up, and Miles Morales wields Captain America's shield. I thought that was pretty cool. And then they throw down and save the day and save all the Avengers.
Yeah. And then he goes back to his teenage problems.
Yeah, then he goes back to his teenage problems of flunking school, and now his grandmother showed up, and apparently that's bad.
Yes.
You may not like some of the teenage drama stuff, but I think this is all right. I really like Miles Morales as Spider-Man anyway.
I do like it, and what I really enjoy about this is I'm looking. Sarah Pichelli's art.
Oh yeah, her art's fantastic.
Is what I really enjoy about this.
In my opinion, Marvel on the art side of things is just killing it. Everything they're doing is just the best artwork that they can really put out.
Yeah, her art is beautiful.
Absolutely, and she does the Spider-Man stuff really well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Those were all the Spider-Man books we had this week. Moving on to the X-Men, we have Uncanny X-Men number 4. And now this book normally follows Magneto and his band of X-Men. I guess they're X-Men. They don't really call themselves X-Men.
They're X-Men, yes.
Okay. Which is odd for an Uncanny X-Men title to be focused around essentially villains, is what you've got here.
Oh, I would argue that, but okay.
And then another quasi-villain shows up in this issue. Phantom X.
When did Phantom X turn and become a villain? When did he make the heel turn?
Well, he's never really been... He's more neutral than he is evil. And so he does this thing where he's kind of just out for himself. And if you can help him with that, great. If the bad guys can help him with that, that's okay too. I mean, he's hanging out in the Hellfire Club when the issue starts.
Yeah. This is a pretty good issue, though. You got the whole team except Magneto fighting the Dark Riders, and they actually go and fight the Dark Riders at their base. And after the Dark Riders have gone and fought Zorn,
they go to try to
cool.
capture or kill Zorn, and they think he's going to be a piece of cake because he's this this pacifist monk or whatever. And Zorn just vaporizes one of the dudes after he won't cooperate with him.
Yeah, Zorn just stops him.
Yeah, and the other two immediately run away. Hey, who's the glowy skeleton dude?
I don't know. One of those mini mutants I've lost track of over the years.
Okay. He makes me think of Kel'Thuzad in World of Warcraft.
Okay. I don't even know his name, man. There's too many mutants for me to keep track of, and there's a couple of dozen in this book alone.
Yeah, so you have that scene there where, they clearly underestimated Zorn. Then you have Sabretooth, Psylocke, Archangel, and M go out to Egypt, to the pyramids, and tracking down the Dark Riders. Which, by the way, you realize all of those that are out there have formerly been Riders of the Apocalypse.
Well, that's what they are. They're the Dark Riders. What they're trying to do
No, I mean the
is
team
prove
that's
right, but they're trying to prove that they can be successful without Apocalypse. That happened in issue 1.
no, I meant Archangel, Sabretooth, Psylocke. All of them have been.
Oh.
All of them have been.
Oh, I thought you meant the Dark Riders.
No, all of them have been Riders of the Apocalypse at one point or another.
Psylocke hasn't, has she?
Yeah,
When?
she was at one point.
Not in the movie, in the comic book.
I think she has in the comics at one point. Maybe not. Maybe I just am thinking of it from the movie, but it sure seemed like it. Anyway,
I don't know. Anyway,
they go toe to toe with Dark Riders, and it turns out it was not exactly what they thought it was.
no.
No, we'll save the ending for you, but it turns out that may have been a gamble that they shouldn't have taken.
Yeah. Greg Land's doing some magnificent art on this.
Oh yeah, always. Anytime Greg Land is doing X-Men stuff, it's top notch.
Yeah, and when you have if you have Greg Land drawing the Hellfire Club, it's even better.
Oh yeah, and I think Greg Land is one of the better X-Men artists.
Yeah, I do too. I agree.
That was the only X-Men book we had this week. That moves us into the Avengers books, which we have for the first issue, Avengers Standoff, Assault on Pleasant Hill, Alpha number 1.
Yes.
Which is the longest comic book title in the world.
Possibly. There have been longer, but not many.
So those who might not be familiar, Assault on Pleasant Hill is or Avengers Standoff rather, is the kind of mini event leading up to Civil War. Maria Hill, in her infinite wisdom, has decided that she's going to take fragments of the Cosmic Cube and use them to alter reality and create a community of reformed villains and use it as a humane, quote, prison.
Well, they're not reformed. She's brainwashing them.
Right. She's brainwashing the villains, and they're living in this community not realizing who they are.
Yes. And what happens is in the previous book, basically, Pleasant Hill number 0, let's call it. I forget what the thing was called. Bucky, the Winter Soldier, finds out that something is going wrong on Earth. He's actually, in the whole universe which he protects, he finds out he's got to go back to Earth because there's something wrong there. And he finds out something's wrong. So he begins going to SHIELD bases to figure out what's happening. And Steve Rogers knows that his buddy Bucky is attacking SHIELD bases, but he can't figure out what he's doing. So finally his buddy Bucky calls him up for breakfast. And they have breakfast, and Bucky says, hey, your pal Maria's
off the rocker.
Off her rocker, and is doing something very, very wrong at this town. And Steve's like, no, she wouldn't do something like that. And Bucky's like, okay, sure. Tell you what, go find out for yourself. So Maria comes and gets Captain America, and they head over there. And about the same time, the current Captain America, who is Sam Wilson, finds out about it. And he heads over there. And just about that time, and it's been building for a while. It was building in that number 0 book, which I should give you a better name than number 0. I forget what it is, but because it's not in my notes here. The villains have been in the process of freeing themselves, and they realize Captain America's walking around, and the leader of the villains, who we won't spoil for you, is a real enemy of Captain America, and says, hey, this is the perfect time since he's here to set ourselves free, so let's do it. And that begins what will become a very massive war there in Pleasant Hill.
Yes. And to be clear, Bucky doesn't actually call up Cap to go have eggs or whatever. He leaves him a calling card, which is a napkin from a restaurant that they used to hang out at
I was joking.
during their old war days. And the reason that Captain America found the napkin is he's investigating Bucky's recent infiltration of a helicarrier during a time where the bridge was preoccupied because they were all watching football.
It's pretty funny, by the way.
Yeah, Maria Hill's away for a little while, so one of the IT guys hacks into the bridge and turns on all the football games.
Yes. And that's by the time Bucky shows up to have a discussion with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have Captain America and, well, you have both Captain Americas and Bucky running around Pleasant Hill and seeing the sights and deciding whether this is something they can agree with, and they get to meet a creepy little girl who's a sentient fragment of the cosmic cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real weird.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too.
Who's who?
Who's this Rick Jones guy?
Dude, you know who Rick Jones is?
Apparently not.
They give you a short bio in there, man.
Yeah, I was looking for a little more exposition on that.
Rick Jones has been around forever. He was in Hulk issue 1 when the Gamma bomb was going off. He's the guy that Bruce Banner had to rush out to the Gamma site to save when the bomb was exploding.
Oh, okay.
And he became the Hulk's sidekick. And from there, he became the Avenger sidekick because, as he does in this issue, he jokingly takes credit for putting the Avengers together. And in the way he kind of did, they're the Avengers. He hung out with Captain America for a while. If you read the Captain Marvel books, he was in Captain Marvel for years because he shared the Negabands with Captain Marvel, so they basically shared space in this universe. So whenever one of them was in this universe, the other was in another universe. So they had to swap places to be here. So if Rick Jones was on Earth, Captain Marvel was in the other universe, and if Captain Marvel was here, then Rick Jones was in the other universe.
Well, that's convoluted.
So when I say Rick Jones has been around forever and been in every comic book, most recently, when you had all the Hulks, you had the Red Hulk, the Green Hulk. He was the he was actually A-Bomb. No, he was A-Bomb. He was basically a blue abomination.
Oh, okay. Well, now he's a computer hacker.
Yes. And he explains how he became a computer hacker because he basically used, for all intents and purposes, shortwave radio, which was the internet of the day back in 1964 with the Hulk and the Avengers. Because in 1964, you didn't have radio. You didn't have an internet. You had shortwave radio, so that's what they used 50 years ago.
Right.
So
makes sense
fast forward that 50 years, you're a computer hacker.
Cool. Anyway, I'm interested to see where the rest of this is going to go.
I can talk a lot. That's still allowed. Okay.
Oh, anyway. A-Force number 3.
Thank you.
How are you feeling about this series so far, moving into the 3rd issue?
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the interaction between the characters, the interaction between Dazzler and Medusa, the interaction between She-Hulk and these characters. I'm really enjoying how they're developing Singularity. I'm enjoying the interaction between all these characters. Medusa carries herself as royalty, and the other members, particularly Dazzler, just don't care. I'm enjoying it. I am.
Okay. I like it. I'm enjoying it. But I don't know if it's one of those books that if I were walking into a comic book shop, I'd be picking up on the regular.
Oh, I would. I think it's
would
good.
You?
Yeah, I think it's good.
So, uh, give us a synopsis of what happens in this issue.
I don't really understand, but Singularity was came along in the Secret Wars, and she came into this universe in when we returned to the 616 universe. And apparently, this villain, whose name I can't remember, is the opposite of her. If she's a negative, he's a positive, and he is trying
Right.
to basically he's trying to kill her.
Hmm.
And in this issue, the ladies of A Force are tired of fighting him, so they decide they'll try to reason with him. And that doesn't go well because basically his opinion is, hey, I'm a god, you're ants. I'm just going to stomp you and kill all of you. And
Right. Why should I
Yeah,
even be concerned with how you feel about this?
sure. I don't care how you feel because I can kill you all with just a thought, and how you feel is irrelevant. So why are we even talking about it? And I was confused here. Did he kill Dazzler or did he just put her in the sick
No,
bay?
she's dead. At
I
the end of
thought
that
she
issue,
was.
she's dead.
You know, and this may be a
I
spoiler.
yeah.
I know she dies somewhere in the Marvel universe, like in the next few months. I didn't know if that was where she died or if she died somewhere else.
Well, with that implication, it would seem that it was here. I was thinking maybe she was going to get resurrected in the next issue or two, but
I thought she was going to die in one of the X books, to be honest. I thought it was going to have something to do with the whole Inhuman Terrigen Mist virus thing. But then I saw her lifeless body laying there with Singularity going up talking to her, and I thought, well, maybe this is when she died. Now, we gave you spoiler warnings at the beginning, so if we just ruined this for you,
sorry.
you were warned.
Yeah,
Okay, you were warned.
yeah.
All right.
Um,
Dazzler's going to die sometime in the next couple of months. And I wasn't sure if this is when she died.
it would make sense for it to be. I mean, why would they bring her back in an issue or two just to kill her again in 2 months?
I don't know. I mean,
So
I really.
I'm gonna assume that this is where she checks out.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I did not expect that going into the issue. I did not expect it to get that serious that quickly. I did not expect
Uh,
the story to go that direction.
she's a character who's just never worked. And
No,
unlike some of the characters we're going to see die in Secret Wars, or excuse me, Civil War, she's just
all these wars going on, you can't keep them straight.
she's become a throwaway character because she's just never worked. I mean, let's put it this way: her power is sound, and it's never come across in a written, drawn format. Nobody's just ever been able to make it work.
Right, she turns sound waves into light or kinetic energy or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah, it just doesn't. She was one of the many mutants that got created in like the late 70s, early 80s.
I
That
think she got created during the disco era. I mean, she was a disco character.
right, yeah, and they keep trying to do stuff with her. They even tried to turn her like not bad necessarily, but they tried to make her kind of a edgier.
They made her a shield agent. They
Yeah, they've done
they tried to
everything
do
with
stuff.
her.
They've done everything with it. It just hasn't worked.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't work, and she's a character that send her off like this, where she gets taken out by a alien entity, and it's a big impact for her friends. That's probably the best you can hope for.
Yeah. Uncanny Avengers #6.
This was a big time issue.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I enjoyed it. You had so the Wrecker gets out of prison and immediately starts tearing up the Avengers mansion, only to realize that the Avengers don't live there anymore, but instead it's a themed hotel. So he's just beating up all these people cosplaying as Avengers, and even maybe walking into a few intimate scenes between between what looks like somebody dressed as the Vision and Wanda. Not Wanda.
Scarlet Witch.
No, she's not Scarlet Witch. She's the Wasp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then Deadpool shows up.
Well, apparently most of the team's busy, so Deadpool and Quicksilver are sent to solve the problem.
Right. In the meantime, you also have going on this this thing with Synapse. She's kind of just hanging out at this coffee place, and all of a sudden the Inhumans show up for her, and they're like, "Hey, you're an Inhuman. Come check out New Attilan and see what you think." And she's not real keen about it.
No, she's like, "Yeah, I'm really not down with that."
Yeah, she's
and Medusa's doing her whole queen thing. Again, she's doing her whole royalty thing, and Synapse is like, "Nah, I don't think so. Don't care."
Right. Then one of the X-Men shows up. He's lost control of his powers and is blowing the place apart. Luckily, Medusa and Synapse are able to help him, but that's just kind of her cue to be like, "All right, I'm out. This whole thing isn't working for me."
Yeah, it was. It was a pretty entertaining book, and yeah, it was a pretty entertaining book.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah. Here's the kicker.
This is behind baseball for you. Okay, or inside baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We record this whenever we can. We try and record it on Saturday. We try and record it on Sunday. Sometimes we record it on Monday, and we had issues recording it on Sunday yesterday. So we're recording it on Monday the 12th. So the books for the 12th have already come out, and I've already read a couple of this week's books, and the Wrecker has shown up in this week's books, and there's already another Uncanny Avengers books out, and the Wrecker's in it again, and it's really funny. So you want to keep track of the Wrecker in this book so you can see what happens to him next week. It's pretty funny.
In the meantime, Deadpool and Quicksilver, after dealing with the Wrecker, decide to make sure that the catacombs beneath the Avengers mansion are safe. And Quicksilver runs through real quick, says, "Yeah, everything's fine." Turns out not everything's fine.
Yeah, not everything's fine. That was a, by the way, great art on that page, man.
Oh, absolutely. But big reveal there at the end about what might be lurking in the Avengers Mansion's catacombs.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, before we move on to the 616, and we're really going long here, back to Assault on Pleasant Hill.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 3 panels where the young lady, what's her name, that possesses the Cosmic Cube?
Oh, the little girl?
Yes.
I forget.
Looks at Steve Rogers and says, "Your star isn't right." And there's a flash of light, and she fixes his star and fixes Steve Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
I did. I made note of it.
You did. Make very good note of it. And those of you who are reading it, if you didn't catch it, go back and read it again.
Yeah.
Because I think that very moment has implications for months and possibly years to come.
Yes. That very short little scene right there.
One little panel or two.
Yeah, it's a seed for things that happen later.
Yes.
But moving on to Mockingbird #1, I really enjoyed this book.
Let me stop you a moment.
Okay.
I have known Mockingbird for a long time. I remember when she appeared. I remember when her and Hawkeye got married, when they got divorced, when they were West Coast Avengers together. I remember all of this. Okay, I've remember her first appearance. Dude, I've been reading comic books 45 years. I've read a lot of Mockingbird stuff. I never remember her taking the Super Soldier formula and the Infinity formula. When did that happen? I missed it.
Apparently, it's recently. The implications in this book are that it's happened recently, and that's why she's under medical observation.
Okay, you talk about the book. I'm gonna go to Wikipedia.
Okay, so this whole book, this whole first issue involves Mockingbird and going to the doctor. Apparently, she's recently taken both the Infinity Formula and the Super Soldier Serum, and with Shield and their healthcare policy, she has to be under medical observation fairly regularly. And it's not sure, but she's hallucinating, seeing these white zombies, and a bunch of other stuff. My particularly favorite panel was she's sitting in a waiting room at a doctor's office, and there's Hercules just hanging out, Howard the Duck, and Tony Stark is reading a pamphlet about gonorrhea.
That was pretty funny.
You would think a guy who gets around like Tony Stark does would already know how to deal with that situation, but good for Tony, I guess. Or maybe bad. I don't know. But yeah, this whole time you get these, you get this montage of Mockingbird on mission doing stuff and then being called in for medical evaluations and taking blood and questionnaires, and they're making her do psychic tests and all this other stuff. And then she starts exhibiting these sort of telekinetic abilities. And by the way, every time you see her in the waiting room for another checkup, Hercules is always there. One time he's icing his shoulder, one time he's got some ice on his head, he's got a black eye, which I thought was kind of funny that Hercules is always there.
I didn't notice. Is he always there?
Always. Every time you see, and one of them is Jessica Jones and Luke Cage with the baby. And
I did see that.
Yeah, every time that they show a scene where she's in a waiting room, Hercules is there. Anyway, I'm really not sure where this book is going, other than giving Mockingbird some new powers, but I'm on board. It seems like it's going to be an all right book. I'll at least read the next couple issues anyway.
Okay, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Apparently, some writer just decided to give her the Super Soldier Serum and Infinity Formula at the same time.
Well, there's been a lot of, because at the end of Secret Wars, we skip what, like 8 months? Was it?
That's not something that you just hand out.
I'm sure we will learn reasons why she was subjected to such things eventually.
Okay.
In the meantime, we can talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 3.
There you go. Which winds up in Pleasant Hill, I believe.
It seems to lead up to it.
It's headed there.
Yeah. All the Avengers-focused books are about to head in that direction. They're all going to be dealing
all the
with
S.H.I.E.L.D. books, all the Avengers books.
Right.
Yes.
So give us a brief synopsis of this book here.
Coulson is still having issues with Lola, his former girlfriend, who picked his brain with all of the information on how to kill all the superheroes, and he's still trying to get that information back before it is auctioned off to the highest bidder. And he's got teams out doing things. I really liked Fitz jumping from a what he jumped from a helicarrier to a Quinjet.
One of the Quinjets. Yeah, and
Mockingbird's from a Quinjet to a Quinjet. Yeah.
Yeah, Mockingbird's with him, and she's just like, yeah, whatever. I do this every day, and he's freaking the heck out.
Yeah, I think he wet his pants along the way.
Yeah, something like that. And, Agent May's just like, you guys all right? And Mockingbird's like, yeah, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
All in a day's work. And Fitz is like, we just jumped out of a plane.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And, yeah, it was a good book. I enjoyed it. And I don't... again, we give a spoiler warning at the beginning. How is Wolverine there?
Dude, I have no idea. I was going to ask you. Because at one point they go to that one of the agents are acting undercover at this auction for this information that
Right,
contains the plans.
right.
The plans to kill all the superheroes.
I think it's May and one of the other female characters are undercover at the auction.
Right. And they run into Wolverine. Not Old Man Logan, not Laura Kinney, Wolverine.
Yes.
And that's never explained.
Well, it's like the last page, so you assume it's coming for next month.
Right. Like, I'm sure we'll get an explanation, but, dude, what the heck?
I don't know.
Also, this is like the third or fourth book that Rick Jones is in this week.
He's everywhere, man. But again, this is just it says it's a standoff tie-in. I mean, this is a Pleasant Hill tie-in, and they were after him for the same reason that Sam Wilson was after him and everyone else in S.H.I.E.L.D. was after him.
Yeah, it seems to be that he's going to be one of the central characters in this story.
Yeah. I'm glad to see him doing something with Rick Jones. He's one of those characters that's been around a long time that they have done good things with, and they've also done bad things with him, and it would be nice to see them doing good things with him.
Yeah, you might actually get to see that for once. Either way, I'm really enjoying the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. team being in the comic books.
Yeah.
I really like seeing Coulson and Agent May and Mockingbird and Fitz and Simmons, and I like all of them in this book. I like the show. I like them in the comic book universe.
Sure. Black Knight number
5. Okay. I had Doctor Strange, but all right.
I got Black Knight. I don't know how I got Black Knight. Okay, Doctor Strange. Sure.
No, we'll do Black Knight. Because it's actually
Somehow
not anywhere
Black Knight
else.
got left off the list. No,
Yeah,
it got left off the list.
Yeah, I got left off the list entirely. And it was actually a really interesting issue, I thought.
Dude, when I'm doing this at work at the end of a 9-hour day, we're lucky I don't leave my name off the list.
I understand. So, if you haven't been following the Black Knight thing, and also the Uncanny Avengers issues that tied in with it, you have Black Knight who has gone on to become like a ruler of an area of Weird World.
New Avalon.
New Avalon, yes. And the Avengers show up because Dane Whitman killed somebody in the regular universe. They threw down for a little bit and then came to an amiable agreement where Dane Whitman would stay behind in Weird World and rule New Avalon, but Steve Rogers would take the sword with him. If you're not familiar with the Black Knight sword, it corrupts people.
Yes.
Whoever's wielding it, it corrupts. Which we find out in this book, it actually has been corrupting Steve Rogers, which is why he probably agreed to that end so easily. And actually, he and Black Knight they duke it out in this issue, and Black Knight has to take the sword away from him, or else he's going to be possessed by the sword.
And one of the things that also happens is Dr. Voodoo touches the sword, and when he touches the sword, he becomes aware of the history of the sword and the spiritual history of the sword. And at that point, he begins conversing with Merlin.
Yes.
And Merlin explains to him that Dane Whitman has to wield the sword because he's bonded to it.
Right. And by the way, if you're asking, yes, it is that Merlin. It's the King of Arthur Merlin.
Yes.
That one. That Merlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mystical, magical side of the Marvel Universe gets real weird occasionally.
Yeah. So that, of course, the book ends with Dane Whitman possessing the sword again, sitting back on the throne there at New Avalon in his corner of Weird World. And I will also say that's how the book ends.
Yeah, I had a feeling this was because it deviates a little bit from the rest of the story that we've been reading. So this strikes me as like a wrap up issue
Yep.
where
Got canceled.
it just kind of establishes this is the order of Weird World right now, and this character, you know, you may see them again, but not in the standalone book.
Got canceled. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it also establishes that in 1945, Submariner beat up a bunch of Hydra dudes and sent them into Weird World, and they became their descendants. Rather, became this. Was it the Order of the Serpent?
Yep.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Who are these people that live on Weird World now?
Yeah.
The snake people.
Yes.
I don't know, man. I think Weird World's really cool, and learning more history about Weird World is always really neat to me.
Yes. Unfortunately, this corner of Weird World you probably won't see again for a while.
Okay.
Doctor Strange #6.
First things first. That cover is absolutely magnificent.
It's not bad.
You got like this. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it's a black cover with Doctor Strange on the front, and it also has his house, and it's all done up in purple, and there's purple tendrils, and yeah, man, it's a really cool cover.
Yeah.
Chris Bocciolo's art has been just 10 out of 10 on this book.
It's not my favorite style of art, but it's really good.
It suits the Doctor Strange aesthetic.
Yes. Yeah, and I can sum this book up in about one sentence.
Go ahead.
Doctor Strange loses the fight.
Yeah. If you don't know what's going on in Doctor Strange right now, there's this group of beings who are opposed to magic and are trying to snuff magic out in all of its existence. They've killed a bunch of Sorcerer Supremes from other universes. Now they're coming for Doctor Strange. And this fight, though he puts up a good fight, it just doesn't go well for him.
Yeah, that's it. And the whole issue is one big fight scene, and he loses.
Yeah, in fact, you see the guy at the end tearing his cloak of levitation in half, which is a big deal if you understand what that cloak means to Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how Doctor Strange is getting out of this one.
Well, you know he does, but did I read the incorrectly, and if this is spinning off into 2 books?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, I thought that's what the last splash page told me.
Oh, Doctor Strange and Last Days of Magic. Okay, I just realized there's like 6 pages beyond the main Doctor Strange story that happened.
Oh yeah, that's where all the characters who are magic wielders across the planet, the magic stops working, and it has the effects on them, from a little child to escape artist to other people. The magic suddenly stops working because Doctor Doom lost the fight.
Who's Doctor Doom? Why is he in this
book? Doctor Strange. Brother, work with me.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to go back and read that because I totally did not realize that was
there's 2 or 3 good stories there. There's a couple of them that are there's 2 or 3 that are really good. There's one about a little girl. Really good.
Actually, I haven't read it, but I saw the thing with the little girl, and that looks. I can already tell that's going to be heart wrenching.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway, awesome book. Jason Aaron's writing it. Fantastic stuff, man. That guy does no wrong.
All new Wolverine #6.
And here we see the tie-up of this latest storyline that's been going on.
Nice, condensed in 6 issues for a trade paperback.
Yes, absolutely. Has to be.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this issue. And I really enjoyed
good.
the wrap-up of this story.
Yes. You see the clones and Laura Kinney coming to moral grips with who they are and what they are and are not going to do with themselves, what the lengths they are and are not willing to go to accomplish what they want to accomplish.
Right. Which makes the difference between what they were created to do and what they decided to become, which is the
Yes.
real moral quandary that this story has dug up. But you see the clones that are left, plus Laura Kinney, infiltrate the base that these guys are in. They alert Shield to what's going on. They take out the bad guy. It all ends somewhat happy.
Yeah, it does. Laura Kinney and one of these sisters make good decisions. Another of these sisters decides to get revenge and rides off with someone in a Quinjet or a helicopter. And who did she ride off with?
I'm not sure. I don't know who that is.
I felt like that was someone I was supposed to recognize, but I did not.
Yeah, same here. I feel like it was someone we should have known, but I didn't know who it was.
Okay, I'm sitting there thinking I should know this person, but I didn't.
Kimura? I don't know. I don't know who that is.
Okay, that's
one for the Googles.
okay. We'll come back to it.
Right.
Or circle around later.
Anyway, nice little wrap up to the story. I'm interested to see where we go next with Wolverine.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Black Widow #1.
You know what this was like?
What was it like?
The start of one of those James Bond movies where it just starts off with a giant action scene.
Yeah, it's like that big cold open.
Yeah, that's what this issue was like. No explanation, no, nothing. It starts with Natasha Romanoff jumping out the window of a helicarrier and 100 SHIELD agents and Maria Hill coming after her.
That's pretty much the whole book. I mean, you can sum up the whole book in that. She steals something from SHIELD, escapes a helicarrier, jumps 40,000 feet out of the air, lands, and takes out some SHIELD agents. And that's essentially the whole book. And you don't know what she stole. You don't know why she stole it. Yeah, what's going on. Why any of this is going on, but I'm interested and I'm along for the ride.
However, you realize what a serious bad character Black Widow is. I mean, it took the Marvel movies to bring to life what a cool character Natasha Romanoff is, because she's always. It's like the comic books could never really flesh her out. I mean, she's led the Avengers teams before. She's done all this cool stuff. But they could just never really, it's like she was Daredevil's sidekick. She was Hawkeye's girlfriend. She was a member of the Avengers, but she never really got it right, And it's like it took the Marvel movies to really draw her out as this really super ninja, super spy. And now they're able to put it in the comic books and make it look right.
Yeah, to me, she's always been kind of the female James Bond. And it's even more parallel because she's actually Russian, but working for the U.S. Yeah, she is not someone you want to cross. And
yeah,
you get the idea of that.
That's what she's been the last few years, but you didn't see what she was in the 60s and 70s. The 60s and 70s.
No, I guess not.
Bad, man. Nah, it's just bad.
Well, either way, they've made her into a really cool character.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, it's a good book. I'll keep reading. I'm interested.
Absolutely.
Both #1s this week had. They didn't give you a ton of information, but they had really good hooks that make you want to come back for issue #2.
We discussed that last week. That these #1s have to be strong books. When there's a TV show, a comic book, whatever it is, that #1 has to get you hooked to want to come back. And these two number ones is we really did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because honestly, to me, if I'm walking into a comic book shop and buying these books, I'm going to give it maybe 3 issues, then I'm out if I'm not digging it because it's not worth the cover price.
Yes. Speaking of 3 issues.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was
We
going
have
to say,
Old Man Logan number 3.
Yeah.
And this is the 3rd issue of Old Man Logan. And I think it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's dealing with the female Hawkeye, Katie Bishop. And she thinks they're going to just try and beat information out of people. No. Logan's just going to kill everybody and leave one alive, and the one he leaves alive, he'll question.
Yeah.
That's his plan. Just kill them all, leave one alive. The one that's left alive will be so scared, he'll tell him what he wants to know. And if he accidentally kills that one, well, okay, he'll find somebody else to talk to.
Right, like they go to Mysterio's last known location. They don't find Mysterio, but they find a couple bums hanging out. And Logan starts questioning them, and when he doesn't get the answer he wants, he just cuts the dude's hand off. Which is about the time Kate Bishop is like, hang on a minute. You need to slow your roll, buddy. Because this is not how we do things here, and the conversation we just had before we got here implies that this may not be the same timeline that you came from, so hold on.
Yeah, so...
And as you might imagine, Old Man Logan does not deal well with being admonished.
Yeah. The old man part leads to grumpy and not wanting to be admonished. So it got really good toward the end. I'm looking forward to issue 4. This is a good book, man.
This is going to be a good book for a while, I think.
I believe so, yes.
This is going to be one of those books that if you had to rank your top 5 books, it's in the top 5 somewhere. And that you are, anytime that I see Old Man Logan, it's usually the first thing I read.
I'm looking. Who's writing this? I'm looking right now. I'll have it in just a moment. Jeff Lemire.
Oh, okay, cool. I like Jeff Lemire.
Doing a good job with it. Doing a very good job with it. I'm really. It's good, man. This is very good.
And again, another Marvel book where they're just killing it on the art.
Yeah.
It's an art style that fits the book, and it's very well done. It's high quality.
Yes.
Which is something that they're doing on almost every book they're releasing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Guardians of Infinity number 4.
This was okay. To me, it was probably the weakest book of what got released this week.
Yeah, and one of the problems is there's just so many good books. This is just me.
Yeah, it's not that it's bad. It's just not the greatest thing I read all week. And so it just wasn't, in comparison to everything else, it felt like it was lagging. Even though it wasn't, everything else was so high quality that this, being just one step down, seemed more mediocre than it really is.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't bad. And it's really, this is one of those books. You want to read Old Man Logan, you got 2 characters, a villain, not a problem. Black Widow, easy read. You got 3 teams of Guardians, a bunch of villains. They're spanning multiple universes. This is a complicated read, man, and it's not easy to follow. You got a alternate universe collector, I think.
Yeah, I think that's who that was. He seemed like the collector.
But it was an alternate universe collector.
Yeah, it was a different collector, but he still seemed like the collector.
Yeah, so this is.
It's a little convoluted.
Thank you.
It's a little more convoluted than I care for. It's cool seeing some of the other Guardians from other universes and other times. But, meh.
Yeah.
It's the story itself is hard to follow. Like there's so much going on with all the Guardians running around. I'm still not really sure what the main story is here.
There's a backup story with Johnny Storm and Venom in it that was all right. But
Oh yeah, that was actually pretty good. It was kind of funny actually.
yeah, and that may have been more interesting than the main story.
Yeah, give me more of that.
Yeah.
I'll take more Johnny Storm and Flash Thompson goofing around.
Yeah, there you go.
Invincible Iron Man #7. This book continues to be one of the best books that Marvel's putting out right now. And part of that is because Brian Michael Bendis is writing it. And anytime Brian Michael Bendis is writing Iron Man, it's always going to be top notch. But you've got Tony Stark hiring Mary Jane Watson, yes, that Mary Jane Watson, to be basically his PR person. And they have a conversation.
He's basically hiring her to make the train run on time.
Yeah, which is apparently something she can do. And they have this really long conversation about what that's going to entail. And it basically is, when I tell you to do something, you do it, and you do it now. Which is something Tony Stark is not always good about.
Right. That's what she told him.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And you have this interesting conversation about, well, she meets Friday, his AI, and they have a conversation about what it means to be an artificial intelligence, and they have a conversation about, Mary Jane called up Pepper Potts before this interview.
That was my favorite part of this, because you're soft selling it. He's like, I'm so smart, I know how this conversation was going to go. I know you were going to say this. I know you were going to say that. I was going to say this. You were going to say that. And he's like, matter of fact, you can't say anything in this conversation. It's going to surprise me. She was like, really? Really? Oh, well, I called Pepper Potts and we talked about you. I'm sorry, you did what? Yeah, I called Pepper. What'd you say? Well, we're not talking about that. There's a Girl Scout. Well, I'm paying you. You have to talk about it. Well, you're technically not paying me yet, and no, we're not talking about it. It was really entertaining.
Right. Yeah. So, I would really love to hear that side of the conversation. I would really like.
Yeah, you'd like to. Yes.
Yeah, which is what the book is supposed to do. At the same time, you also have Spider-Man running around Tokyo. He's going to go check on War Machine, who has found himself in a bit of a pickle.
Yes.
Against some villain I'm not familiar with.
I'm not either. Some kind of ninja techno armor.
It's whoever is funding the
Ninja Beach Party.
The Moonlight Ninja Fight Beach Party folks.
Yes.
And I assume we'll find out in later issues. In fact, I imagine the next 2 or 3 issues are going to deal with that directly. But at the very end, you also get the first real tease of Riri Williams, who is going to take on a larger role in the Iron Man books moving forward, especially after Civil War.
Yes, she is.
And I don't know what kind of role she's going to take, but if I had to guess, this is another one of those passing the mantle type things that Marvel's been doing lately.
Yes. And this is the first book that has the Civil War's logo on top of it. And this isn't a spoiler. Yes. This isn't a spoiler. In the previous Civil War, 10 years ago, you had Captain America on one side, Iron Man on the other. In the upcoming Civil War, you have Captain Marvel on one side, you have Iron Man on the other. And what you're seeing in these issues, because I'm actually buying Civil War off the shelf, if issue 5 ever comes out, we've been there before. We were there last year with Secret Wars. Yes, we were. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's running late. About 2 or 3 weeks late right now.
Surprise.
Anyway, you have Captain Marvel on one side, you have Iron Man on the other. The things you're seeing happening in Iron Man right now are laying the groundwork for what's going to happen in Civil War. And I won't say any more than that because you get into major spoilers.
There you go.
There you go.
And now you get to tell me about Deadpool #8, because this is the one book I didn't read this week.
Let me say this. Let's start here. They spent the first trade paperback, issues 1 through 6, developing the Mercs for money and doing that whole Madcap storyline.
Sure.
Where they actually it was 5 plus that whole 2099 thing. I don't know what that was. And it was lighthearted and joking, and you got Deadpool being rich and funding the Avengers. And then in issue 7, you did this. They did this thing where. Are you thumping on your microphone?
No, I'm sorry. That's me scrolling through the book.
Okay. But because our listeners are hearing a drum beat, I just,
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was that loud.
Normally, I would text you a note, I would type you a note, but everybody's hearing it, so there you go.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I not realizing it was that loud.
It was. So in issue 7, when they started what will be the next storyline, you go through this whole thing where Deadpool is trying to get his memories back. And we talked about it last month, where he's going to people that he's beaten up before and he's beating them up again. But in the process, he's regaining memories. And he's got this book he's written things down in. And he comes across Sabretooth's name, and he realizes Sabretooth has done something to him. And he realizes there's people that have seriously messed with his mind. Beyond just messing with his mind, he realizes there's people who really, really mess with his mind. And he sets out to find those people in this issue. And it leads him to Canada, to a bar, and he walks into the bar, and everybody's like, oh my God, he's here. And it's like, okay, the first one who tells me where this person is gets to live. And everybody speaks at the same time, and they're like, he's in the back room. And he's like, okay, everybody leave. Except you strippers. Any of the strippers want any money? And they're like, yes. And they grab the wallet from every man. The strippers leave first, then all the men run. Then he goes, finds the dude, and the dude's like, hi, you're not supposed to remember me. there's this, it's deadly serious, but at the same time, he kills the dude, resuscitates him back to life because he needs information from him. And the two of them are riding along in the ambulance where he's keeping them alive, except one of them starts giving him a hard time because he's needing the one he resuscitated back to life to write everything down. And he looks at him and he's like, I don't need you, so you need to shut up. But because Deadpool's not playing, and the dude won't shut up, so he kicks him out of the ambulance. Just gurney dude kicks him out of the ambulance while he's driving down the road. While he's still got one of Deadpool's knives in his shoulder.
Oh, good
and
Lord.
Then he sets out to find Sabretooth. And what he does to Sabretooth isn't pleasant. And he and Sabretooth begin to have a conversation because Deadpool remembers what Sabretooth did to him.
Mm.
And dude, it's really good, man. If you're thumbing through the book, look at the last page and you'll read what Sabretooth did to him. And dude, it's good, man. It's good. It ain't the happy, joking Deadpool. It's the I'm mad and I'm not racking up a body count because I'm ticked off Deadpool.
Okay, cool. You know, almost every time that a new Deadpool book comes out, I don't read it, and then I hear you talk about it, and I go, oh, that I might actually be interested in that. And I don't know why I'm not reading it.
I'll give you another thing. Is when he captures Sabretooth, he and Wolverine Deadpool and Wolverine used to sit around and joke. And he and Deadpool or Wolverine would joke about whether or not how he captured Sabretooth would kill Wolverine. And they would actually bet on whether or not that would kill him. So he tries to kill Sabretooth that way. And in the last couple of pages, you see the result. It's like, well, Wolverine would have won the bet. Didn't kill you, but hey, you're pretty messed up, and now I get to talk to you.
There you go, man.
Dude, good book. Good art, good book. It's good, man.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, that leaves the all of the Marvel books for this week. Moving across the galaxy is leading us to Darth Vader number 17. Did you read this?
I did.
What'd you think?
I'm really enjoying this book, written by Jason Aaron, I believe.
Actually, it's Kieran Gillen.
I thought Jason Aaron was still writing it.
No, he's writing the main Star Wars book.
Ah, okay. Why are they just on a 25-issue run with this?
With Darth Vader?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
This is really good, man. And it seems like you could just write these stories forever.
I imagine you could, and you could get Salvador Larroca to do all of them, to draw all of them. I'd read this forever. Yeah, the art's fantastic. But this continues the what is it? The Shu-Torun War.
Yes.
Where it's the war against the royalty of this particular mining planet and the mining barons.
Yeah.
And basically it's a story in just how far the Empire is willing to go and how far Darth Vader is willing to go to subjugate a world for the betterment of the Empire. I mean, they're destroying an entire civilization here just to prove a point.
Yes. Yeah, and it's really good. There's a princess on that world, and she's even being rebuked for what Vader is doing, and she's like, I don't care. We're going to maintain control of this world from these barons, and whatever we have to do it, we're going to do.
Right. Because otherwise it means we all die. And she understands that, and the others do not.
Yes.
They think, really, when it comes to Darth Vader, resistance is futile.
Yes.
Just go along with it, or otherwise you're going to die.
Yeah.
And this book demonstrates that really well.
Yes.
And this whole series has really made you understand that, the difference between who Anakin Skywalker is and who Darth Vader became. That they are. That's what I'm saying is that, they really give you the idea that at some point Anakin Skywalker went away and was replaced with Darth Vader.
Right.
He really gave himself over to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Great book. The whole series has been good. I'm going to be sad to see it end with number 25 or whatever it is.
Yep.
That pretty much wraps up all the current books this week. We had some miscellaneous stuff. A couple season 1 graphic novels, which are all kind of origin stories for various characters. I happen to own the Doctor Strange one. It's actually, if you want to know the origin of Doctor Strange, that's a really good book to read. All of them are really good if you want to understand the origin story of these superheroes.
Yeah, there's some Captain America books there. They're continuing to put out a dozen, 15, 20 Power Man and Iron Fist books every week. There's some Infinity comics there that I didn't put on the list. But yes, there's quite a few books. I think it was 54 books in all.
Something like that, 54, 55, something like that.
It was a lot. It was a lot of books.
Yeah, it was a ton of books this week. Ton.
Yes.
What was your favorite book this week that you read?
There was a lot of good books this week.
Yeah, like everything was really good this week. I'm sitting here still having a hard time figuring out what it was that I just really loved.
I'm going to go with Assault on Pleasant Hill, but that Uncanny Avengers book is close because those guys, when they're attacking Magneto at the end of that book, and Magneto is just sitting there waiting on them, you got that fight with Zorn. You realize that Magneto has laid a trap for him.
Yes.
Probably that Uncanny Avengers book. I also like the Mockingbird book. No,
yeah,
Uncanny
the Mockingbird.
Avengers.
Okay.
Uncanny Avengers.
But all of them were really good. It's a hard week to decide what was the best.
There's like
book.
half a dozen books there the Invincible Iron Man book, the Deadpool book, the Mockingbird book.
For me, it was Old Man Logan. That
That was
Old
a good
Man
book.
Logan book was so good.
Yeah,
I really like seeing him team up with Kate Bishop too. She's a character I really enjoy.
yes,
And plus the whole idea that he may be in a reality where his timeline is not the same one that he's in, and just seeing I don't know, man, just seeing Logan be Wolverine again is really cool.
yeah. It was really cool.
Moving on to the classic read of the week. What do you got this week for
Yes.
classic reads?
There was a time when I actually stopped reading comic books for a while.
Say what?
The kids were little, I think, I don't know, they were 1 and 3 or something like that, and I didn't have the money to buy them every week. There was like a, I don't know, 2 or 3 year span where I didn't buy comic books. So the issues I'm going to talk about, came in that 2 or 3 year period where I didn't buy them. And it's a Frank Miller Daredevil story arc. So Frank Miller began at Marvel, did some miscellaneous stuff, and then he had that first Daredevil run from like 158 to 191. Great run.
Classic. Yeah,
Yeah,
classic run.
About that same time, he did the Wolverine miniseries. He and Chris Claremont did it.
Absolutely love that
Chris
series.
Claremont co-wrote it. He drew it. Magnificent. Then he went to DC, did a Ronin miniseries that he wrote and drew. Then he did The Dark Knight. That brings us to about 85, early 86, where he returns to Marvel and returned to Daredevil and did Daredevil Series 1, 226 through 233. And it's a Daredevil Kingpin fight. And what is that, 7, 8 issues? And the thing is, the entire series is psychological warfare. Daredevil and the Kingpin never see each other, never talk to each other. But it's what's considered the Dark Knight and this Daredevil run right here are considered 2 of Frank Miller's best series. And that Daredevil run, 226, 233, Series 1, it's great. It's great art. It's some of Frank Miller's best writing. And it was great, man. I went back and read it. It's actually the first time I've ever read it. It didn't come out until on Marvel Unlimited until just a couple of months ago. And they finally got the complete series there because I've been wanting to read it. And I looked, and they didn't have all the books there. And all the books just came out probably 2
2 or
months
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I finally got around so I could finally read the complete series. And if you look at Daredevil series, it's really incomplete. I mean, it's like the Frank Miller series through 191. Then there's a couple of issues. Then there's this Daredevil series, and then you get up in like the 300s where they're digitalized, and all those are there. But a lot of these issues in the 200s are missing. But they made sure to get this Daredevil series, this Frank Miller series there. It's a good series, man.
Cool. Go read it if you're a big fan of Daredevil.
Yes.
And if you're a fan of Frank Miller, because Frank Miller is he's legendary in the comic book world.
Yeah, it's a really good Frank Miller series.
Fantastic. Go read it.
Yep.
That pretty much wraps us up for this week. Pat, do you have any parting wisdom before we go for the evening?
I do. John Wayne, you're probably too young to remember John Wayne.
I know who John Wayne is.
But John Wayne said, life is hard and stupid people make it harder.
This is true.
I thought so.
Life's tough. Get a helmet. The famous Eric Matthews.
There you go.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll be back next week with all new books. Until then, see you next time.
Peace.